This is the CreaseCast. Here's your host, Lach in the Crease.
Hey everybody! Welcome to the CreaseCast in a brand new place at a brand new time in the same COVID world. How are you guys doing? We're back for a second season. It's great to be back. This is the first time I am doing an episode in the new season with by myself, and as you can see around me, if you're watching this on the YouTube channel, lots changed. You can probably hear it too. Actually, it's very echoey in here now. We'll go over everything that's happened in the last little bit of time. But first of all, just when I played the theme song right there, I could actually hear that now. That's not me in post edit anymore. That is directly thrown into the show because we have a bunch of new stuff going on, a bunch of new tech, a bunch of new equipment here that I get to finally show off. I didn't get to do it in the first episode because the first episode was done over Zoom, but now I get to show off some of the cool new tricks of the show that I've got going here. Again, for those of you who are new, I am Lachlan, Lach in the Crease Irvin. I've been doing the CreaseCast now for a full season and a bit because of everything with COVID. Technically, it's a little bit longer. One season turned into about 15 months or so. And I'm a hockey writer, Canucks writer specifically. I've been covering the Canucks and the hockey world on my website, lachinthecrease.com, for the last 5 years. 5 years. It's been a long time. Almost 5. I think we're coming up on 5 in 2016, I think is when I officially hit the 5-year anniversary. But yeah, I've been at this a while. Aspiring hockey writer, hoping to do this full-time someday. This kind of stuff full-time. And that's what this is all about. The CreaseCast is a hockey show. As you can probably tell, I'm a former goalie. And this is the second year of doing this officially. Obviously, again, there's no hockey on right now. It's December. This is the first podcast of December. This is a very busy time for everybody. There's NHL's going on. We're a little bit a ways from the World Juniors happening, which apparently World Junior stuff starts in like 12 days, and I didn't even notice. Like, it just snuck up on me a little bit. Oh, I'm just gonna zip that up because something is rattling the screens. Yeah, it's been a very wild year, as you're definitely aware, unless you've been off this planet for some reason. Those astronauts, we envy them right now, don't we? So this is usually a very busy season, but time of the year for me and for everybody who loves hockey. But instead, we're kind of just left up to finding new hockey things to talk about every day and trying to find trying to find debates and conversation about hockey when there's none to be had, because this is technically the summer for us, kind of. As opposed to normal years when July and August are summer for hockey people. There's been so many just weird conversations going on, lots of weird stories. I mean, just all the stuff that's going on right now. Like, I don't even have time to go over everything. I mean, there's the fact that we don't even know when hockey's coming back. It's supposed to come back it was supposed to come back January 1st. Now that date is that date's seeming more and more unlikely, considering we're less than a month away from it. There's so many more, and there's so many more conversations to be had before we get to that official date. Apparently the NHL and the NHL Players Association are trying to negotiate on some stuff. The NHL is trying to renegotiate a deal with the players, and the players are like, yeah, no, let's just play. Let's just get the games going, and let's announce a schedule, please. There's the whole Canadian division thing, which we're going to talk about today. There's so much stuff to talk about. But before I do, if you're not new, things are different. This is a very different... You're probably looking around being like, hey, wait a minute, why aren't you in a weird kitty corner part of your apartment, and why does it suddenly look like you have a bunch more space? It's because I do. So in my life, basically, just to give you kind of a little bit of a very short bit of information on what's happened in my life in the last little bit, I took some time off from the show because I had to go deal with a bunch of a bunch of adult stuff that's very unfun, like taking back my car to the United States, and dropping it off there, coming back and quarantining for 2 weeks just to drop off a car. With my parents in California, there was that, and then right around that time, I had to move because essentially the landlords were moving into the house. We're moving into the house that I'd been renting from for the last year and a bit. So I had to find a new place. It seemed like I was not going to find a place. I was very much prepping for the idea of, okay, all of this is going in storage, and I'm gonna have to crash on my dad's couch for a couple weeks until I can find something. But luckily, just literally right up at the 11th hour, basically, I found something, and I found this place. I found a nice apartment in Burnaby that I am now living in. It's a basement suite, but I love it. It's much bigger, much more space than the last place, and I get my own actual kind of office, which is awesome. It is, it's a bit of a risky gamble just because, I was paying a lot. I'll just say this: I was paying a lot less in rent than I am now. But I am quite happy. I'm quite happy with it. And I'm quite happy with specifically the fact that I have all this room to work with, especially for the show. I'm really looking forward to kind of some of the stuff that I'm going to add in the background, all the different kind of tricks and stuff that we can do. The other thing that happened during the last month, is as I decided to take a little bit of a splurge a little bit and get a new laptop, because I've really needed one for a while. If many of the last podcast episodes were recorded on my old Surface Pro computer, which was hand-me-down. It was not new when I got it. It was already like 3 or 4 years old by the time I got it from my mom using it. They gave me the hand-me-down one. But over time, it can't do, but it's an old computer. It's not built for a lot of high-tech stuff, so it couldn't do a lot of the stuff, particularly for the podcast and for YouTube stuff that I wanted to do. So I went out and I saved up and I got a really good heavy-duty laptop, specifically just to do this show and just to do the videos and the recording and the podcast every week. So, I mean, just right off the hop, I can show you, like, some of the cool things. Obviously, you're looking at me right now on camera 1, because I have 2. The second one's not very good, but I'll flip over to it right now. Boom. This is camera 2. Hi, if you're watching on YouTube. Yeah, this camera's not very good, but this gives you an idea of what the stuff that I can do now, because I downloaded, like, a broadcasting software that, again, did not work on the old computer because it was too advanced. This is something that I've wanted to be able to do for a long time, was add more fun, entertaining elements, and specifically when I'm allowed to have people in studio, again, I like the idea that I could, flip cameras and do stuff and have a camera on them, camera on me, so it's not just one consecutive shot over an entire episode, because that's a little bit more difficult. That's a little bit less of a fun thing to do. And now I will flip back to the better camera. There it is. Obviously, lots of blank wall space that I plan to do stuff with. I plan to do some stuff with. I plan to, decorate it, and specifically decorate it with stuff for the show. I'm looking forward to doing that. Obviously, that also, costs money that I don't have right now. So that's going to take some time, but I'm looking forward to the kinds of the stuff that we can do with the show going forward. And obviously even stuff, and even just little things like, why not? Let's jump into our very first topic of debate here that kind of spurred another thing. Let's go right into the fact that this Gino Ojic movement to put Gino Ojic in the Ring of Honor, the Canucks Ring of Honor. If you're not watching, if you're just listening right now, basically I'm showing it on the screen. I'm showing the article from Daily Hive. Shout out to friend of the show and friend of the show, Rob, the hockey guy, Rob Williams, writing about how BC Premier John Horgan wants to put Gino Ojic in the Ring of Honor, and there's a whole grassroots movement going on right now to make put Gino in the Ring of Honor. And a lot of people, and that kind of spurred its own debate. for Canucks fans, which was the fact of, okay, well, if you're going to put Gino Ojic in the Ring of Honor, it's time to put Luongo, it's time to retire Luongo's jersey. And I swear to God, every time this comes up, I gotta say it, the dumbest people come out of the woodwork and are like, oh, Luongo shouldn't get his jersey retired, he's not important, blah, 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 he didn't do anything, his playoff failures are too much to get him, to put him, he does not deserve jersey retirement. And with that, I'd like to go into a brand new segment on the CreaseCast where I call which I'm just going to call right now, Lachlan's Rant, where I rant about something and get very, very mad for about, I don't know, as long as needed. On the last episode, it was me getting mad about the Canucks reverse retros. This time I'm getting mad about jersey retirement. I'm a positive guy, I like to think. I'm a very positive person. I'm just going to flat out put it for you I'm going to make it very nice and simple here. If you don't think Roberto Luongo deserves to have his jersey retired by the Vancouver Canucks, you do not get hockey. You don't understand hockey at all. Because, frankly, you're diminishing one of the greatest goaltenders of all time's contributions to a great team. And the fact of the matter is, he is arguably the biggest reason that they got to where they did. And that is a very hot take. I'll admit that part is a hot take. But I'm very much of the belief, and admittedly a little biased, Roberto Luongo for me in my mind, is the greatest player the Canucks have ever had. In my mind. I know that's not actually true. I know there have been better, and I know there are guys who are coming. Like the Sedins, obviously, I would put in with my actual brain. Yes, the Sedins are 1 and 2 and the top of the greatest Canucks of all time list. And Luongo is third. You can't, it's true. Sorry, it's true. He's the third greatest Canuck of all time. In my heart, he's number 1 because I was a goaltender. I grew up a goalie and I idolized him growing up. He was the guy who I wanted to be. And I imitated when I played in net. I made saves just like Lou. I always wanted to be just like him. That's the way I grew up. A lot of people, when I was growing up, harped on him, didn't get it. They didn't understand what Luongo brought to the team because all they saw were the tough playoff exits. It has nothing to do with that. What Luongo is able to do in his time I forgot that I have the hotkeys on, and apparently I can't do that. I can't do some of the stuff that normally. Basically, people are like, oh, like they immediately the immediate factor for people is, look at what happened to him in 2011 in the Cup final. He completely imploded. Yes, let's talk about the fact that the goaltender. Let's blame the goaltender in the 2011 Stanley Cup Finals. Let's blame the goalie who got 2 shutouts. Might I remind you, 2 shutouts. Not only were they just regular shutouts, they were 1-0 shutouts where he had to be perfect for the entire game, or otherwise they did not win. Instead of, say, I don't know, the skaters that only scored 8 goals in 7 games, an NHL record for futility in a 7-game cup final, scoring futility in a cup final, in a 7-game series. Yes, you totally know where the blame should be going. It's definitely on the goalie, because he didn't score enough. How dare he not? Yeah, that 4-0 loss in Game 7, it's his fault the Canucks didn't score a single damn goal. Yes, that's on him. Yes, I get the fact that he had a shaky starts in Boston. I totally get that. And I understand why that's tough to swallow for some people. But I mean, the fact of the matter is, and yes, his save percentage looks poor because of it. The fact of the matter is, the Canucks don't even sniff that cup final without him. They don't even come close to it without Luongo and without the foundation he gave that team. One of my hottest personal takes is that, and I think if you really look into it, I think there's some merit to this, which is, and I think it's something that not a lot of Canucks fans might like to hear, or want to hear, or realize even. But Roberto Luongo made the best players of that 2011 final, he made them possible. I personally do not think that that the Sedins get to the level that they do in their careers without Roberto Luongo. That's probably kind of fiery. You're probably ready to bring pitchforks to my brand new apartment, in which I will say, no, please, I just put a security deposit down on it. But hear me out here. You have to think about the fact that for the first long part of the Sedin's career, they never really were able to do the things they could. Not because they couldn't. They always had that skill. They were always going to be great players. But because of the fact that the Canucks never had stable, strong goaltending, consistent goaltending for the first good part of the Sedin's careers, I don't think the Sedins ever got the opportunity to truly flourish and got the leash that they did from their coaches without Roberto Luongo being there, because suddenly there was no longer the concern of, oh, hey, if we let them go out and try and cycle the puck to the end of the world, and they make an error, and ends up going, and they maybe make an error, it goes back the other way. We can't trust the goaltender at the other end to stop that shot, to necessarily stop that and save that shot. So we need to kind of hold them back, rein them in a little bit. When Luongo got there, that changed, because now all of a sudden the Canucks had consistent, strong goaltending every single night. If the Sedins were cycling the puck, pulling off classic Sedinery, they never had to worry, oh, if I make a little bit of an error here, if something goes wrong, that puck's going in the net the other side. They never had to worry about that once Roberto Luongo came on the scene. They knew 99 times out of 100 he's stopping that puck. That was the way Lou was. That was what Lou made possible. I think the Sedins are great players, become great players even without Luongo. But I don't think they get to Hart Trophy, Lester B. Pearson / Ted Lindsay Award, back-to-back Hart Ross Trophy winning Henrik and Daniel without Roberto Luongo, because they would have never been able, because the coaches would have never had the trust in their netminders to keep any mistakes or errors out. He freed up the Canucks forwards and players to be more aggressive and make defensemen. He freed up the opportunity for defensemen to go ahead and try and make that extra pinch and try and beat that guy to the puck. They freed up the forwards to get a little bit more creative and do more things in the attacking zone, or even in the neutral zone as they're trying to enter. Because they never had to worry that, oh, if something goes wrong here, we don't have to worry. We're not worried that puck's going in. We're not worried that we're going to end up with a goal coming back. Because Luongo was the most stable, the best goaltending this team and this franchise have ever had. They've never had a goaltender like him. Not even close. Luongo deserves to have his jersey retired by this team. He played here for, 8 goddamn seasons. He was amazing in all of them. Even in the years where he struggled, he was still great. He still gave the Canucks better goaltending than most of the NHL. I don't know how you can look at the fact that this guy is third all time in NHL wins. You'd think I would know this because I am Luongo's biggest fan and I'm the biggest proponent of him getting into the Hall of Fame. He had 489 wins. Come on. I don't know, and most of which came with, hey, guess what? The Canucks, because that's the team he came to. That's the peak of his career came with the Canucks. I don't know how you can look at the fact that he is the leader in every single important goaltending category the Canucks in franchise history for the Canucks, and say this guy doesn't deserve to have his jersey retired. It does. He does. He absolutely does. And if you don't agree with me, it's because you're looking at it from a short-sighted vision. You're looking at only a couple games. And even if you're going to say, oh, his playoff experience is the problem here, it's like, I'm sorry, he won a bunch of playoff series before that. You're just going to boil it down to one? That's the marker we're setting it at now. We're setting 7 games determines his career, or the cap recapture BS. Some people were like, oh, that matters. No, it doesn't. I'm sorry, you expect him to... It's the onus is on him to do the Canucks a solid and not retire because he wants to work in the front office, just because the Canucks it would hurt the Canucks cap hit. I'm sorry, the franchise that treated him so poorly and just booted him out the door by not playing him in a Heritage Classic. You think he owes them a solid? No, screw you. This team treated Luongo, and sometimes this fan base treated Roberto like absolute shit, and he didn't deserve it. Same thing kind of happened with Pavel Bure, and look what ended up happening. They ended up letting bygones be bygones and retiring the number 10. Luongo's next. He damn well better be. Nobody deserves to have their jersey retired in more than Roberto Luongo. He does. And frankly, if you don't believe me, if you don't agree with me, I don't know what else to tell you other than maybe hockey's not your thing. Maybe you don't understand how important goaltending is, that's pretty much it. Maybe you just don't get goaltending. I'm sorry. Just to leave you with one last thing, if you go to hockeyreference.com, they have a little thing on their they have a little part of their stats page for players called a similarity score, where essentially they show you kind of the overall, they match up the points they match it through like advanced stats. They match up goaltenders to their closest counterparts from history, through like a bunch of like adjusted for era sort of stuff and points and what have you, adjusted point shares from point shares. So basically it's here are the comparables for a guy's career. Who are the goaltenders that we have to compare, that we should be comparing this goaltender to and his career to and what he was able to accomplish. Here are the 10 names on Luongo's list. I'm going to leave you with that. Those names are Terry Sawchuk, Martin Brodeur, Tony Esposito, Jacques Plante, Patrick Waugh, Glenn Hull, Henrik Lundqvist, Harry Lumley, Dominic Hasek, and Curtis Joseph. Arguably the collection of the greatest goaltenders of all time. Arguably right there in the same career path as Roberto Luongo. And his peak years came with the Canucks. He is one of the greatest players this team and this team and this city has ever seen. What else is there to say? And with that, I need to cool down. So let's talk about the fact that the NHL is making things more difficult for a return to play. Yay! So essentially there was this deal in place. They redid the CBA during the last off season, with the idea of what was going to happen for 2020-21 in mind. The idea being that, they would come back either around December or around January. Right now, it seems like that's not happening. January does not seem like it's happening. It seems like February is much more likely. He wants to renegotiate the labor agreement because of everything that's gone on. And the players are understandably not happy about that because, hey, they agreed to this deal. I get, and that everything's changed, a little bit has changed in terms of the landscape, but still, this is a contract. This is a set contract that you put in place. Why on earth are you trying to change it right now? And most of I'm not going to go over too many of the numbers. This is from a Chris Johnson article on Sportsnet. Bettman is saying we're not actually having negotiations and we're not seeking to renegotiate, which is kind of lawyer speak for yes, they absolutely are trying to renegotiate, but they're not officially. It's very clear what they're doing. And there's this idea of there's this the memorandum of understanding on July 10th was called them to lose 20% of their paychecks to escrow in 2020-21 with another 10% deferred. But Bettman indicated that two recent proposals on behalf of the owners called for increased deferral and escrow payments remain in an effort to keep everything balanced. And obviously the players are not cool with that. You signed a deal. Why are you trying to go back on it now? And apparently there's a lot of stuff where the owners are saying, oh, it's cheaper. We'd lose less money if we didn't play. I don't know where that's coming from. I don't know why on earth you would cancel the season after the year you've had. The last thing it sounds to me like the NHL needs, especially for its smaller market, smaller revenue teams, is a canceled season. That seems like a huge waste, especially with the amount of money you would probably lose on the fact that you have to pay out some issues with broadcasting. You've got one more year on a broadcasting deal, and you need to get to that next one, which is where the big bucks will come back from. I don't see how they can make any changes here. I get that the world and the landscape and the economy has changed even just from July, but I don't know how you're going to make this work. I think this was settled, you know? The NHL is trying to like strong arm the players for easier things for the owners. It's even though frankly the players have far more to lose here than the owners, because some of them are getting older. They might not be able to get that paycheck, the paychecks they're getting again. There's the fact that some of them are expecting to go as UFAs next year, or expecting to get the big money contracts again, but they haven't been there. I don't really know. I don't know a whole lot about the CBA. Maybe I should read it. My friend did. She said it was very interesting. But I don't really know. I think it's very clear that hockey needs to come back, and that money that they, at this point, it's like, okay, let's just get a season going, please. Obviously safely. Do it safely, please. And it seems like that's the way things are going. It seems like more or less it's going to be in February. I don't know why they would ever say, oh, we're not going to play. I don't know. I don't get that. Some teams have said they might try and play outdoors, which would be fascinating. I think there were 4 teams specifically in the U.S. I think it was like Pittsburgh. I think Pittsburgh said something. I think Boston was another. L.A. and Anaheim together. We're looking at it because apparently outdoor stadiums, you could actually put some people in an outdoor stadium. Hey. I have no idea where this world's... I have no idea where we're going. Hockey is going to be very interesting next year, whatever this season is. And most likely that includes a Canadian division, which I am quite excited about. I mean, because obviously the main thing is that Canadian teams can't travel across the border and play again. Unlike the cases with the Raptors and the Blue Jays, where they're the only Canadian team and they kind of have to go over across the border to play their games and stay there for a while. The NHL has enough teams that they can leave them, obviously, in Canada, that they can leave the 7 Canadian teams to play a schedule against each other. In terms of the Canucks, I mean, what's going to be very interesting about how this goes, because I'm assuming it's very much going to be, even for the US teams, it's going to be a case of you're playing only teams within your division, and you're playing probably close to like 60 games. 60, 70 games. For the case, or not 70, 70 is too many, 60. We'll say 60. For the Canucks, I mean, and for every team, that means you're going to probably play teams upwards of 10 times. You're going to play the same team 10 times, upwards of about 10 times. And that can make or break your season. Like one team, having trouble against one team could easily tank your year. And from a Canucks standpoint, I'm a little concerned. Not just because they've come back weaker than they did last season. I just look at some of the teams that they'd be matched up against, and I do not like their odds. And I feel bad about that, but that's just the way it is. Specifically, the team that sticks out to me is Winnipeg. Which might have been an interesting choice for some people. Like, I think some people would probably say, oh, like, you know, Toronto is going to be a big threat. Calgary, Edmonton, obviously, with Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. You can't count them out. For me, I look at Winnipeg. Not necessarily because they're going to be the best team in that division. They're probably not. I would say that the reason they scare me the most if I'm the Canucks is because, the Canucks have only won, one game against them in their last, 11 or so, like a lot of games. They've only won 1 in regulation, I think, against them in the last so many years. They've only won once in regulation. And honestly, that's a lot of points. Like, again, 10 games is 20 points. That's 20 points out of your season. 20 points out of possible 120 you can get in a 60-game season. You're playing 10 games against Winnipeg. If you put up those same numbers, that means you only got, probably, let's say, just to be generous, let's say the Canucks win 2 games, one of which is an OT. They win 2 games and then lose a third in OT. That means you got 5 points. That means, hey, you got 5 points. That's great. But Winnipeg got 17. If I've got my math correctly. Do I have that correct? Yes, I do. That's 17 points. That's a gap. That's enough to give you. That's enough to just vault them right ahead of you and into a playoff spot, and you not making it. That's a very crucial. That's a very crucial amount of points that are up for grabs against every opponent. And from the Canucks' case, there are just a couple teams in this group that I think match up very badly for Vancouver. Specifically, some of the quicker teams like Toronto is going to be a hard one for them. I think they will definitely have their hands full with Montreal. I think they can, and Winnipeg especially. I think they can handle Calgary and Edmonton overall. Ottawa. They're not doing so great these days. But mostly, there are some teams in this division that could very easily tank the Canucks' chances at the playoffs. They do not match up well against teams that are faster than they are, and more importantly, they do not match up against teams that are fast and physical, the way like Winnipeg is. Winnipeg schools the Canucks every time they play them. I do not love that for Vancouver. I think if you're the Canucks, you have to look at possibly finding a couple bigger guys to come in, bigger guys who are still quick and can contribute offensively to kind of turn the tide a little bit for you. And right now, the Canucks don't have a lot of that anymore. They don't have that edge, and they don't have guys. Then the guys they do have with edge aren't exactly regular offensive contributors, and that's going to be a big problem for them. But I am very excited to see what they do in the Canadian division. I'm not saying they can't make the playoffs at all. I'm not saying that they're absolutely guaranteed to miss. But I'm saying that they are going to have a much tougher time getting in than I think they did last season. I think the Pacific Division specifically offered them a lot more leeway and a lot more teams that they would have in so-called easier time against and could earn a couple more points here or there. Specifically, the California teams were all very bad last year. There are no garbage points here. There's no just taking a couple free wins here or there in this group, aside from Ottawa, mostly. And right now, I think the Canucks are going to be in tough. They're very in tough to win in that division. It would be very cool to see, but I think right now, they're kind of on the outside looking in. They need to kind of look at the teams that they're probably going to play, specifically the likes of Montreal and Winnipeg, and say, okay, how do we combat these groups? How do we play against these guys on a regular basis? Because this is what your season is going to be. It's going to be full, long, crazy season series against 6 other Canadian franchises. You have the opportunity, more or less, to kind of build a team that can beat that competition a little bit. And because that's kind of what it's going to take to get into the postseason this year is, can you beat the 7 team? Can you best the 6 or 7 teams that you're playing against? Vancouver right now, I don't think they're there. I think they need a couple more, especially some help on the blue line and a little bit more scoring. Especially on that suddenly much, much weaker right wing side. One fun story that's come up in the last little bit is the Braden Holtby turtle stuff. That was fascinating. The whole turtle... the Braden Holtby's turtles got stuck at the border, tortoises got stuck at the border, I should say. And his wife was tweeting, like, can somebody please, does anyone know anyone for the Canadian Parks and Fish and Game? Because my husband's stuck on the American border with tortoises. And apparently they got through, and it's so funny. Just all of that stuff has been hilarious. And then Tim Hortons send them, like, donuts with the tortoises on it, which is real fun. Like, never in my wildest dreams did I think our 2 tortoises would end up on a Long John. There they are in all their glory, the tortoises. It is so funny. Look at that. They also sent They also sent a hockey card. Where is it? Oh yeah. Oh, where's the closer up picture? There was a closer picture that I wanted to see. It's oh, I can't find it. But either way, they sent them a bunch of like a welcome gift, and I love that. That's really cool. Overall, like, I mean, this is the kind of stuff that we're talking about. This is what off-season hockey is tortoises not being able to get across the Canadian border, especially in a pandemic. I mean, I can't imagine. It's just a crazy story, and overall, just exotic pets are fascinating. I guess tortoises aren't that exotic, really, but because their tortoises are, I believe, they're land creatures, not like they don't live in the ocean, I don't believe. Honey and Maple, adorable. It's such a crazy story. This is what off-season hockey is finding the most ridiculous stories and talking about them. Like the fact that the Canucks sell electric Segway scooters on their website now. There's that going on. What else is there to talk about? I don't have there's not much to talk about right now overall, just because of the fact, again, there's no hockey on. There hasn't been a lot of transactions going on. Frankly, I'm going to be honest, this would have been a good week for an interview, but again, with all the moving stuff, I have not had the time to do that. Patrick Johnson of the Province, he was talking about how the NHL how they might have to consider ads on sweaters, on the jerseys. Yeah, why not? I mean, at this point, what do you do to recoup your losses? I mean, you got to find some way to make this economically. I guess maybe you're probably not going to make a profit either way, but more or less, you got to find some way to stop the bleeding a little bit, stop the red ink, and maybe sponsorships are the way to do that. I think there are some pretty cool sponsorships you could do. The fun ones, of course, are like, the NBA's done it, I think, quite well, where the sponsorships are there. I don't love it. Personally, I like the idea of I'm a bit of a purist for the jerseys, and I very much think the jerseys are sacred and you shouldn't put ads on them. But with this weird season, I think it's worth a try. I think the NBA, again, does a pretty decent job where it's like, okay, they're kind of like on the shoulder here, and they're not loud. They're not aggressive. They're usually designed to blend in more or less with the rest of the uniform. They're designed in cohesion with the uniform. And it looks it's tasteful and very limited advertisement overall. I think this is where you're going, for the NHL. You don't want to turn them into like the European players where they're just plaster, they're a billboard, or they look like a NASCAR, right? I don't want that for the NHL. If you're going to put like just a very tasteful one, like on the shoulder or on the patch or on the arm, give it a try. For Vancouver, I mean, what would Vancouver's ad be? It can't be Rogers again, because literally every team is a Rogers ad. I think it would probably be, what would it be? Oh, that's a tough one. It would be like, Tyson Foods. There you go. Perfect. Mwah. Beautiful. Perfect, because of course they secretly own the team. Or they secretly own TSN, so they'll want to get on board with the Canucks. They're going to put a Tyson Foods ad on the side. I'm sure that's the way this is going. Let's move on quickly to the NHL stuff, to some NHL stuff before we wrap this episode up. One thing I was joking at, so you can't see it obviously on the camera, but I have like very tiled floors, right? I have tile floors now instead of like wood. Instead of like just like wooden, wood flooring. And it's really funny because it immediately reminded me just a little bit of Connor McDavid's house and the photos that went viral from Connor McDavid's house. These are they're fascinating. I mean, Connor, buddy, okay, it's a very nice house. It's nice. I'll give it that. But Connor, buddy, your house needs some color. And his girlfriend apparently designed it because she's an interior decorator. Don't get me wrong, it looks okay. It looks fine. It's not offensive to the eye or anything, but it's so bland. Why is it all grays and blacks and whites. It's just grayscale, everything. I don't know why you wouldn't put more color in this place. There are a couple cool, interesting things here or there. I don't know why that's popping up. I don't... look at the basketball court. Like, you look at the basketball court that he has, like his indoor sports court. That's cool. It's Connor McDavid's sports court. The floor is gray with black. The walls are white with black trim on the bottom. I don't get it. I don't get why you wouldn't decorate more. One of the quotes in here was from from the writer whose name is Caroline Galt. She said that Lauren Kyle, McDavid's girlfriend, said, she was rightly amused by my suggestion that hockey royalty must have hockey regalia adorning the walls. Quote, Connor doesn't like showing off hockey memorabilia, she says. Dude, you're Connor McDavid, man. Come on. Like, okay, it really isn't doing much to dispel the whole thing of hockey players are boring. Like, good lord, it just needs a splash of color. That's all I'm asking for, buddy. Like, I don't know you, you don't know me. You stole my number, but I don't hold it against you. I'm trying to give you help here. Just a little bit of color, just a little teensy bit of like some colors here and there. It's very white and it's very grayscale, and that's not the way I would want my house decorated. As I say, looking at my gray walls and gray tiled floors, I am basically living in the very, 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 very poor man's version of that house right now. But hey, there's wood. The wooden cupboards at least have a little bit more color, and I have a Christmas tree up with red lights and stuff. So hey, I've got a little bit of color going. I've got my accent colors. I know interior decorating. No, I don't. What else is left here to say? Johnny Boychuk's career was ended by an eye injury. A lot of people are saying, hey, that's kind of interesting that his career is just over, but he hasn't also officially retired. This seems like Lou Lamoriello bullshit. It kind of does, because it helps them get out from some tough cap space. I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if Lou did it again. But I mean, he seemed very I'm not saying, like, obviously Johnny Boychuk's not in on it or something, but it's like, you know, he's very upset, and it seems like he's very much come to the same conclusion that this is his hockey career. He's called it this is it for him. And it sucks. I mean, yes, he was a member of the 2011 Bruins, so I have to hate him. But also, like, that's such an awful way to go. Just an eye injury is such an awful way for your career to end. You want to go out on your own terms. So, Johnny, cheers to you, man. Like, you had a great career. You had a great run, and really a big anchor for that Islanders blue line for quite a while there. Mikhail Sergachev signed a 3-year deal with the Lightning for $4.8 million. It's a little bit pricey for Sergachev. He's a very good defenseman. I think he's got a little bit of an overrated. He's a little bit, just a teensy bit overrated, just because of the whole Jonathan Drouin situation and that's how he came to them from via Montreal. 4.8 is manageable. It's not terrible, but I mean, you look at the fact that the Lightning have zero cap space. They've got to move. They got to shuffle some money out again. This is what happens when you win a cup. I mean, well, this is what happens when you're the Lightning and you find a way to just let everybody stay for a bunch of time and get them to take cheap deals. This is the situation. You're having too much of a good thing. Oh no. Don't be the Canucks, where we're in cap hell but haven't won much at all. Yikes, we have, 2 playoff series wins to our names? Well done. And finally, one story I just wanted to go over for the most random reason. This is kind of like a Jon Stewart moment of zen thing, like Daily Show moment of zen. I saw this in November, but I just had to talk about it. This is from a website called indie88.com. The famously controversial Garfield-themed pizza restaurant in Toronto Garfield Eats has closed. Very sad. It only lasted 1 year. They served Garfield-shaped pizzas, lasagna, and what are called Garfuccinos. They're selling apparently frozen lasagna online. It was just the most random thing. First of all, I didn't even know Toronto had a Garfield-themed restaurant, but I am fascinated by the fact that this existed even for allegedly just 1 year, and now it sells frozen lasagna online because COVID killed it. Oh my god. Like, just crazy. Of all the restaurants, I mean, I get the whole Garfield loves lasagna thing, but I don't know why you would want a restaurant based on a cat and then make pizzas shaped like his face. Why? Which gave me the question, which I'm going to ask you as well. I'm going to ask you guys, and I will take the best responses, hopefully, and put them in the next episode. The question being, what if you were going to base a restaurant off a cartoon? What would it be, and what would you serve? That's my question for you guys. Please answer it either in the Twitter in the Twitter replies for this episode. Just send it to me on Twitter. I guess like hashtag CreaseCast. We'll just do that. Yeah, send me that. For me, this is the too easy of one, but it's the Krusty Krab from SpongeBob. Krabby Patties. Everybody wants Krabby Patties. They've never. I don't think they've ever had an actual Krusty Krab restaurant, like an officially licensed one, anyway. The one thing with that, of course, is that Krabby Patties have been so hyped up from that show and from just the legions of fans that have seen that show and that have grown up with it, like I did with that show. You have to get it right. If you do not get the Krabby Patty correct and it is not the most delicious thing anybody has ever tasted, you're in trouble. This is probably why Nickelodeon has never licensed a Krusty Krab restaurant, because frankly, the ramifications of, say, that Krabby Patty not being the greatest thing ever, it could be catastrophic for the brand of SpongeBob as a whole. It's been built up in everyone's mind so much with the secret formula and everything else that it would have to be the best burger you've ever had. And so I think that's why it would never happen, but I would absolutely, that would be my pick, is Krabby Patties. I've always wanted to have a Krabby Patty. Hopefully, I hope someday they make that restaurant happen, and I hope it's, again, the greatest thing ever. But that's what I would pick. That's who I'd go with here. And with that, I think that's about it. I think we're about to wrap this up here. One other thing I will say is, I've been doing Twitch streams. I've been doing a little bit of Twitch streaming lately. I've been testing around with that because, again, I can do that now. I played Among Us, and that ended up being kind of popular. Like, in terms of, like, at least for me anyway. I had, I think, one follower on Twitch, and it was Chris Faber. Before that. And then I played Among Us, and I picked up two more. And I picked up two more. Two people who not only didn't know me from hockey, they didn't know who I was. They just subscribed, which is hilarious. And they were like, oh, and I know, the reason I know that is because, I mentioned on the stream that, I do the CreaseCast, and this person was like, and one of the people were like, oh, I'm going to check out your podcast because I didn't know you did that. Clearly, they do not follow me on Twitter. They don't know anything about me. I don't know how they found me. Must have been from, like, the featured page on Twitch or, like, one of, like, the Discover pages, I guess. I don't know. And the other person was like, oh, wow, you have a huge Twitter following. Like, huge being 300 followers on Twitter. Yeah, it was fun. And I played people who were, like, actually getting into it. It was interesting. It was pretty cool. I won a bunch of games as the imposter. I had a lot of fun with it, so I think I'm going to do that more. I'm going to do stuff like that more. I'm going to try and play some games, maybe NHL. Fall Guys is another game I like. Definitely I'm going to do Among Us again, because clearly that's popular. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? So I'm going to do that. You can go to, I think, what is it, twitch.tv/LachInTheCrease. You can go check that out. I do want to try and get affiliate status on there or like the partner status, which I think is 50 followers on there, because then I can make a little bit of money from doing the streams. And also I can do like some bigger stuff, which is like some bigger stuffs with the streams that I've wanted to do. And some ideas I have for like more live programming, I guess, hockey related specifically. Like one of the other Twitch streams I did was designing a reverse retro myself. I did that on there as well. I think you can check that out on the channel. I think it's there. If you enjoyed this episode of the CreaseCast, please check out my Patreon at patreon.com/LachInTheCrease. For $3 a month, you get full bonus episodes of the CreaseCast, talking about ranging from everything from hockey, obviously, to TV, like The Mandalorian, to music, to Christmas stuff. I've got a couple Christmas ideas in the works for bonus episodes on there, and new perk for the that I've just I guess I'm just announcing now. I have revived my old CreaseCast Discord channel. I do not have a link. I will put a link in the description for this episode. You can join even without being a patron, but if you are, you get access to the VIP rooms and a little bit more and some little bit more goodies and stuff like that that I'm working on. The Discord channel will be available to everybody, but yeah, for $3 a month you get some extra stuff and some extra access to different channels to check out if you join. $3 a month. It's less than a Starbucks peppermint latte. That's pretty good. Less than a Starbucks peppermint latte a month. It's a pretty good deal, if I do say so myself. I will also say that right now I do have some stuff in the works for potential, let's say, stuff you could put on you could help with your Christmas shopping this year. I am not officially saying anything yet because it's not done yet. But once it is, I will let you know on the show. There is some stuff that I have in the works specifically, again, to try and help do this more. If you go to the Patreon and follow Twitch, follow me on Twitter, on Instagram at LachInTheCrease, and follow the YouTube channel. Subscribe to the CreaseCast YouTube channel. Subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Leave a review. Check out LachInTheCrease.com, where I do articles every week. It helps support me, a local independent hockey journalist. It really does. Every little bit helps, and I really appreciate it. And and you guys are the reason I do stuff like this, and the reason I'm able to do stuff like this every week. And I really appreciate it. So please keep doing that as much as you can. And yeah, I will be back next week with another new episode, and hopefully with a guest. Thank you so much for watching or listening, and I will see you next time. Oh yeah, I forgot I have to play the end music now. This has been the CreaseCast. I am Lach and the Crease Servant. Thanks for listening. Good night.